Welcome to today's workplace series. Today, we're talking about gratitude. Now, gratitude is something that I focus on every day, and not just because it's a key element of my PhD, but because I've seen how it impacts how you feel. I've seen how it impacts how you show up. I've seen how it impacts how you make decisions. Now, when you think about gratitude, this isn't about ignoring hurt or challenges or those tough emotions. It helps create space, perspective, contentment. In his book on gratitude, Professor Robert Emmons wrote, "Gratitude is fertiliser for the mind, spreading connections and improving its function in nearly every realm of experience." He's also done research with another professor, Michael McCulloch, and this is really classic research where they looked at the impact of gratitude on well-being. And what they did was they assigned college students to one of three conditions: gratitude, hassles, or just events through the week. And what they got those students to do was to record diary entries over the space of 10 weeks. And those diaries recorded either what they were grateful for, what they were irritated or annoyed about, or just their general events, depending on which condition they had been assigned to. They also completed a series of surveys that monitored physical symptoms and well-being. What the research found is that the students who were assigned to that gratitude condition reported significantly greater life satisfaction, greater optimism for the coming week, and also fewer physical symptoms. And by that I mean they had less aches and pains. Interestingly, they also exercised more than the students who were assigned to the condition focusing on hassles or just general life events. By being grateful, those students who were assigned to thinking about what they were grateful for, it amplified what they felt. It shifted their mindset. The good news, gratitude isn't just about well-being and well-being in your personal life. It's really relevant at work too. So, why does gratitude matter? When organizations analyze culture and think about their values, gratitude isn't likely to be one of those traits that you would see on the list. Yet more and more research is showing that not only does it play a significant role in well-being, it also improves resilience, it enhances relationships, and it also better enables progress. All elements that are critical in this constantly changing and challenging working world that we're all a part of. So gratitude can be thought of as a virtue, as a character trait, so like a disposition, someone can just dispositionally feel more gratitude, but at its core, it's an emotion. And it's a positive emotion that arises when you're aware of what you have and what you're thankful for. Now, the two researchers that I mentioned before, Robert Emmons and Michael McCulloch, they define gratitude as a two-step process. So firstly, you have to recognize that you've obtained some type of positive outcome. And secondly, you know that some external source is responsible for that positive outcome. I'd also go further and suggest that gratitude is part of like a broader life orientation where you notice what's in front of you. You notice and appreciate what's good in the world and what you have. You can think of it like a mental frame of reference that shapes how you see the world and ultimately your thoughts and your actions. Now, it also helps teams because when we're predisposed to being grateful and focusing on what's good and what we have, it changes how we process what's happening. Why? Because emotions impact where we focus our attention and what we decide to do. So practicing gratitude isn't about ignoring the emotions or hurt that you might feel at work. It's not ignoring those feelings of stress or sadness, but it's about equipping leaders, employees, the people in your team with the strategies and the mechanisms to cope with challenges and change. So rather than letting that situation overwhelm you or consume your every waking thought, you're able to find a way to work your way through it. Gratitude also connects with relational aspects and fosters relationships and fosters what we call prosocial behaviour. And prosocial behaviours are behaviour that's positive. And that means when you're grateful, you're more likely to help team members. And that's backed up by research. Grateful team members have a higher likelihood of helping their colleagues. There's even research that demonstrates that promoting feelings of gratitude in people results in them having more ideas or elaborating more on ideas that are presented by colleagues. And that, in turn, generates more ideas from them, more creativity. So where do you start with all of this? One of my favourites is the work of psychologist and author Martin Seligman. Love his work, and his work has changed much of what it is that we think about in terms of happiness, optimism, and treating depression. And he has shown through research that optimism, for example, is a learned trait. And he says, and I'm quoting here, optimistic people generally feel that good things will last a long time and will have a beneficial effect on everything they do. And they think that bad things aren't isolated. They won't last too long and won't affect other parts of his life. What he's found through his work, and he does a lot of work with the US Army, working with returning soldiers and dealing with PTSD, and he's shown that specific activities focused on positive psychology provide resilience, and that positive psychology training can lower rates of PTSD, substance abuse, and depression. A key part of his work is cultivating a daily practice of gratitude, and that helps to reframe a person's frame of reference over time. It's such a simple practice. At the end of each day, you write down 3 things that went well and why. It can be as simple as, I had a really good cup of coffee, or I caught the bus today and the bus was on time. It doesn't have to be a big, complex thing. Leaders, you can adopt these types of practices into the workplace too. As part of team meetings, build in reflective practices where your team focus on where they've made progress and why. Encourage your team to reflect at the end of each day. What worked for you? What went well? And it's best to write these reflections down and do that practice each day. Now, this does not mean it's kind of fake gratitude, fake happiness. We're going to have bad days. But what you're doing is also finding the joy and the meaning in your day. And when you do that and establish those core rituals, what you're doing is you're encouraging your team to focus on what's working around them and also focus on what they can do for others. Because when you do something unexpectedly nice for someone else, it kicks off those little happy chemicals in your brain. That actually then makes you feel good too. So lastly, in all of this, cultivate an environment where relationships matter. If you're the leader, devote time each day. Doesn't need to be a huge amount, but something each day to relationships. Make those connections meaningful. Be open about what you're grateful for and the gratitude that you have your team. Of course, this isn't one and done. You don't go, I've practiced gratitude and I don't need to do this anymore. For the best results, it's something that you think about every day. As the Roman statesman Cicero once said, he talked about gratitude as not only the greatest of all the virtues, but the parent of all the other virtues. So the question I'm going to leave you with takes you back to the quote from Robert Emmons at the start of this little missive. How are you going to fertilise your mind today? Share comments in the space below. I'll see you next week.